How's that, Carrie? All right, everybody, welcome to Hang with Willie. This is episode number 3. We had some technical difficulties getting started live, so hopefully you guys will be able to follow me live. If not, we will have this recorded, so you'll be able to get a recording of this, and it'll also be available on YouTube as well. We have gotten literally now we're into the thousands range of people that have registered for this webinar. So we might have gotten to that critical point in which we got to reassess how we're going to take care of all the technology with this. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. So let's get started. Today I'm going to be working on how to fill out chord progressions. Now, how many times have you come across a lead sheet, a fake book, and you'll have a chord that lasts it seems like an eternity. I mean, it'll last for a measure, maybe even 2 measures. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the Dick Rogers, Earl Hagen tune, Harlem Nocturne, right? Used to be, what was that, Mike Hammer? I think it was Mike Hammer. It was that old TV show. So anyway, let me just go ahead through and play this for you first of all. Right? I'm just going to play chords. I'll get down to this stuff down here a little bit in a minute. Let me just grab my mouse thing here. I had a restart. And perfect example of restarting your computer. So, all right, yeah. So all this stuff down here, I'll talk about the left hand. So right now I'm just going to be focusing just on that right hand, okay, and playing some chords. So here we go. Oops, there we go. Move this down. I'll play the C minor major 7 there. We're going to change that actually in a minute, but then okay, so now you'll notice that gee, you got a G minor major 7, and it's like 2 measures long. Then you got the C minor 6, 2 measures going into just a C minor major 7, which is not much of a change at all. And then now you got 3 chords in this measure right here. So when you have just one chord that lasts for so long, there's quite a few tricks. I'm going to show you a couple of them in today's Hang. The first is to understand the root and the fifth. The root and the fifth of the chord. So that means that when we play this, so you see how I went to the 5th there? So I hit the G minor major 7, and I go up to the 5th, and then go back down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be writing out some music as I go on this. So, and then I did this. Whoops. Let me undo that. There we go. All right. So I did this little. And the chord that I'm playing here is just I'm voicing down this G minor major 7. Okay. And the notes are. Yeah, we might as well do that over there as well. Okay. Let's go through those notes. So it's the major 7th, the 5th, the 3rd, and then I did the 9th in there. Why didn't I just go to the root? Well, because I'm already playing the root down here. So that 9 adds a nice little bite to it, doesn't it? So in the left hand, I don't have to do much. Now, of course, I could do fancier things like or I could do root 5, root 3, 4 up to the 5th. Okay, so this is all on G minor. Okay, but I can also start very simple. And the main thing is understand, like I said, the root to the 5th, to the root to the 5th. Okay, so now that's the first thing you can do. The next thing you could do is you can now try actually moving to that D7 chord. So you see I can go like from the G minor major 7 to a D7, back to a G minor. And then you could do the same thing on any of these chords. So when I go down to C minor 6, let me change that virtual keyboard. I want to make sure that everything shows up as flats so it doesn't keep switching on you, okay? Let's make sure that's good, okay. All right, so that when I go to the C minor 6 chord, see how I just did that double chromatic up to the 5th again? And then back down to the root. I could also do this. This is kind of cool. And if I wanted to do a rumba, isn't that a cool sound? But again, it's all about the 5th. So this is why it's critical that you know your root, 3rd, 5th, 7th of each of the chords. Okay, so same thing on C minor 7. And then what's the next part? I don't have it memorized yet. So I can do that little rumba thing. It's kind of fun. But again, root 5, root 5. All right, so now how can I come up with some other ideas? Well, one thing you can always do is, and unfortunately I don't have it. Actually, you know what? I got it right down in here. I can load this up real quick for you, hopefully. Hopefully it's not going to crash anything on me. No, don't need to do that. Skip this. All right, so now the best thing you could do is go to the source. You know, do a search. So I did a search for Harlem Nocturne on Google, and it took me right over to YouTube, and I got this Duke Ellington Harlem Nocturne. Right, so now I just can play through this. I'm not going to play it right now, okay, because I don't want to get into copyright violations and stuff like that. But you could go ahead and search out that that video and then listen to the bass track. Okay, so what you do is you listen to the bass player, because the bass player is going to tell you what the chords are. Now let's go through what I found. So the bass player for this, and then by the way, in that rendition, they're playing it in A minor. It's written in G minor in the real book. Okay, so the first thing the bass player is doing is going down to. Now I'm going to say where they're going down to, but remember, it's a whole step off from what's actually on the recording. So in the recording, they go from A to F. I'm going to. Whoops! I just put music in here. Oops! What happens when you're. Okay, that's fine. I'll fill that in later. All right, so in the music, it's in the key of A minor. So they're going to go from A to F. I'm going to be talking about it like it's in the key of G minor, okay, because that's the key we're working. So the bass player is going from G minor down to E flat, then back to G, then to the D. So let's talk about what's happening there. So it's playing the root of G minor. And then when we go down to the E flat, what is that? All right, well now, this is where we got to kind of think about, we're in the key of G minor, right? But remember, G minor is the same thing. G minor is the relative minor of B flat major. And an easy way of finding the relative major of any minor key is just go up to the minor third, okay? Go up to the minor third, and it's that note. So it's B flat major. So if I was in the key of C minor, well, up to the minor third, well, C minor is the same thing as E flat major. A minor is the same thing as C major. F minor is the same thing as A flat major, and so on, okay? So G minor is the same thing as B flat major. All right, so now let's move into the key of B flat for a second. You know, we have our diatonic chords in the key of B flat. We have our 4 chord, right? E flat. But now, you can go down to like a kind of a bluesy sound in E flat, right? So remember that our blues chords in the key of B flat would be what? Remember, your blues chords are your 1, your 4, and your 5 chords. So now I've moved to the key of B flat here. So 1, 4, and 5. That's B flat 7, E flat 7, and then F7. Right? So B flat 7, E flat 7, F7. So what's happening here is this is a borrowed chord now. So down to E flat 7, right? Borrowed from the major, okay, the relative major, and then back to G minor. And we go down to the fifth there, okay? And then we get on to C minor. And then the bass player does the fifth and then back to the root. So exactly what I was telling you about at the beginning, roots 5, roots 5. So take a listen for yourself and you'll hear that. You'll hear that root fifth motion. Okay, so now let me add in some of these chords so we can build out this arrangement. So I like that. All right, so then I'm going to make this a half note, okay? And I'm going to change up and take 2 quarter notes there. All right. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Oops. And get rid of that. And 2 quarter notes in here. And let's take a listen to that. Okay. And I'm just going to go to a plain old G minor there. I'm not going to hit the major 7th again. Why am I not going to hit the major 7th again? Listen to it. I'll play it as I have it. You know how going back to that major 7th there, it sounds a little too tense, okay? So I really need to add in, oops. Add in a quarter note there, 8th rest, and then I'm going to tie that over. Okay. All right. So now, here I have my E flat 7. So let me add in my chord change there, E flat 7. All right. Just a real simple E flat 7. I could add in the 9th if I wanted to, but like simple. Think simple. You don't need a lot. And then here, just go down to the D, right? So down to the D. And now we go on to our C minor 6 chord. And a nice voicing for that, just this. Okay. And now notice what I did there for that C minor 6. 3rd, 5th, and then a 9th, which is the melody. And I hold these over. Okay, so I could add that in here again. Like that, and like that, and like that. That's right. Okay, and I'll tie these over. This gets a little bit confusing though because you really have to pay attention because see how you don't have the tie between those 2 notes? So that means you're going to play that note, but the tie is there. So sometimes I don't write that out because it's real subtle. It's real easy to miss that. Okay, all right. So let me make this a little bit smaller, see if I can get more of it on the screen. Yeah, okay. That. And I can do that right down there. So I can do that half note. 1, 2. And I can do that. So that gives that little rumble feel there. So I have now. Okay, and I can go back to my C there. Okay, just put a little placeholder in it. Okay, so now I have. Now in here, I don't really have to do anything if I don't want to. You see how I can now add this? Now all I'm doing here. Yeah, that'd be cool. So check out what I'm doing here. So when I play this C right here, okay? When I play that C, the G, and the C, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with other notes of the chord. So I started with that. That's the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. But then I don't like the way that rubs right there, the B flat and the C. So I'm bringing in the 6th. Right? The 6th. So now I can play that as an 8th note. And then I can put this as a half note. Now, this is kind of cool, right in here. So right here, listening to the bass player, this is what the bass player played. Let me play this for you. So. Oops, I'm sorry. It should be an E flat right there. So it's. Now that was really interesting to me. It took me a little bit to like really figure that out, because it's, that was throwing me that E natural there. Okay. So anyway, so what's happening there? So we got an F in the bass. This is a perfect example of the chord change that's listed in the music is not the same that's on the recording. Okay? So what's being played on the recording is not the same that's listed in the music. And this is what you'll find a lot of times in these lead sheets, is that you'll see these chords that are written out, but you know, somebody transcribed it wrong, or a composer decided to do something different. You know, so like Duke Ellington didn't write the song, so maybe he reharmonized it and decided, I don't like the C minor major 7 there, I want to play something different. Anyway, it doesn't matter what, you know, where it started from or who started it first. The point is, a lot of these classic recordings, you'll find that they don't necessarily match up with the real book, right, with the fake books. So then that means, okay, now I got an F down there. Well, an F, that doesn't sound quite right, does it? Okay, doesn't sound right. So then I'm like, okay, well, what else could work on that? And I realized that, well, that F minor 7 flat 5 works actually quite nicely, doesn't it? And if you take a look at it, like, look how close that is. There's only one note difference there. There's the F minor 7 flat 5. I'm just playing the root and the 10th. If your hands aren't that big, you could always just do root 3 like that. So let me take that out for right now. I'll just play the root down there, in fact, and leave the 3rd out altogether. So this is the flat 5, the flat 7, the 9, and the flat 5. You notice that the difference between a C minor major 7 chord and an F minor 7 flat 5 chord is really just that one note, a half step away, in fact. Okay? So here, moving to an F minor 7 flat 5. So I'm going to change that chord, F minor 7 flat 5, and then here. And might as well have it in there too while I'm at it. Okay, so now check this out. Oops. And here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to make this a quarter note and then just have this come right in on the beat. So, oops. There we go. And let's move down so we can see what we're playing here. Let me do this. There we go. So, and then now we have this. Okay, so now let's take a look at the chords in the right hand versus the bass line in the left hand. So we have an E flat, I'm sorry, a D flat. Do we think that that works on that E flat 7 chord? No. Actually, I want to back up one quick second. Did I have to change this F minor 7 flat 5? No, I could have kept it as that C minor major 7, because that sounds fine as well. But what's cool about this change is now I have a change of root motion. So rather than staying on the root C, the root C, the root C, you know, for 3 measures here, and actually, I need to make sure I put in a G minor there. So rather than staying on that C for all those measures, now I'm able to move to a different root. And that root motion, bass motion, root motion, almost the same thing. Okay, not that the bass player always plays roots, but for our purposes right now, we can consider it the same thing. That root motion, right, is what propels the song. When we think about a song, it's really not as much those inner notes. It's the outer notes. It's what's the bass player playing and what's the vocalist or the lead line up here doing, okay? That's what defines the harmony. So the bass player has actually a lot of control over the direction of the song. All right, so anyway, I like that F minor 7 flat 5, but then when I get into here, and then when I go to the A, right? Okay, so the A7 doesn't work with that E flat, right? Whoops, oops, oops, oops. Let's move down. Right here, that E flat and that A7 chord, I'm just playing a basic A7 chord for you, it's not going to work. That D7 sounds good, and then the G minor. All right, so then that means this A7 is really a question mark, okay? And then this E flat 7 is really a question mark as well. All right, so for an E flat, well, if we have an E flat here, and then now we're going to a D7, that immediately gets me thinking, oh, all right, well, E flat 7. Okay, do an E flat 7 chord. Let me see what that would sound like. So, yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it? That E flat 7 sounds really nice. I could throw a flat 9 for the D7 if I wanted to. All right, so now that leaves this E flat 7 right there. I'm always looking, where am I coming from? Coming from that F minor 7. Now I got a D flat 7, or I'm sorry, a D flat right there. Okay, let me try D flat 7. See how that works. Since it has such a bluesy sound to it anyway, those dominant 7th chords are going to give you that real nice bluesy sound, even if it seems like it's outside of the key. All right, so D flat, and then over here, let me just try a C7 as well. Okay. See how that sounds. We have D flat. So back from that F minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so now if I play just the shells in the left hand, that doesn't sound bad. And in fact, I'll just do the root 5s for right now because it gets a little, yeah, we can get away with that. We can sneak that in. Okay, so now that works, but as soon as I start adding in those thirds, especially here, why is that C not going to work so well? Well, look at my melody. Ooh, hello. Got that E flat in there. So that's really not going to be a C7 chord. It's more likely to be a C minor 7 chord. Now, we also have these in here, this E and this D. Right? Check out what I can do here. Let's do this. Check this pattern out right here. All right, I only have enough room here. Oh, actually, you know what? I can do this. What am I talking about? There we go. All right, so now let me go ahead through and play. I'll play from right here. So. Oops, sorry. Oops, get this in my way. Sorry about that. Let me do that again. Okay. So now that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Especially like right here in this D flat. I'm not in love with that sound. Now, this I'm going to take off there. Okay, I'm going to take off the tie because we're going to have to do something different on that E7 chord. So check out what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do, well, let's do that. Let's do that. Oops. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play tenths. Okay. These tenths are great because they provide you with a much more open sound. Right? So when you have those tenths, it's a great way of having motion throughout the progression, right? Without it filling in the chord too much. Because again, if I start doing doing this kind of stuff and adding in thirds and ninths and all of that, now I start to like really define that chord a little bit more. So now I can keep it a little bit more open. I get this sound. Sorry, added in the seventh. So let me try going through that a little bit slower for you. Oops. Yeah, let me do that again. Okay. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it moves kind of quick in there. All right, so let me fill in those notes for you as well. So that is going to be... All right, so now let's go back to the music here. All right, so let me play this now. Again, I'll start right here. I'll do those two little pickup notes. Okay, let's take a listen to that. And then down here, two. All right, so put that in there. Half note. Oops. Okay, and then I'm going to do that little double chromatic. Okay. All right, so now let me zoom this out a little bit. Let's take a look at my whole arrangement now. If I can fit this all on the screen for you. Just about. Just about. Let's do that. All right, so now let me play it for you nice and slow. Whoops. Now, of course, what I have done for you guys is I've also created a play-along track. Let me pull that up quickly. This play-along track is a great way of obviously being able to jam along with the band. So let me put this track on and I'll play it again. Oops, sorry, that's right. It starts, so you got to come right in on that. So as soon as you play it, all right, so that's with our play-along track. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is let me take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'm going to explain to you, and we're going to summarize again all of the different techniques that we did in today's lesson. All right, so welcome back. Now let's summarize exactly what it is that is being done in this arrangement. All right, so zoom in here a little bit. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this view. Okay, so what I did, first of all, remember when we started with this, this was just G minor major 7. Okay, so the first thing that I can do is I can just try messing around with. I just going from my root to my 5th, then back to my root. No. So I can do that pattern. I can do the root to the 5th, 5th, that whole pattern, right? But then in listening to a recording, I heard this E flat 7. I'm like, oh, I like that borrowed chord. So now this is where it gets me thinking, like, oh, okay, if I have a song that's in minor, and it's going to be holding out now for, you know, a measure or two, let me see about going down to, you know, a major 3rd down and playing a dominant 7th chord there. So, and so let's check out even Summertime. So there we have Summertime. Hey, it works on Summertime. A minor, and then go to an F7, back to an A minor. All right, what about My Funny Valentine? Well, that's interesting, going down to that A flat 7. All right, so now I have a new tool that I can add into my, you know, bag of tricks. If I'm in minor, let me try going down that major 3rd and playing a dominant 7th chord. All right, so whoop, I just got tangled up here. All right, so that's what I have here. So that's what's going on. Then we went back to the G minor, and then this down here is just a simple 5th. Okay, and then we went to C minor. And then actually all I'm doing is adding in some motion in the left hand. The chord in the right hand can just hold out. So the left hand can take over the motion. A lot of times students are thinking, oh, I need to do all these fills. Well, a fill, sure, you can do a fill. You know, if you want to just, you know, do that and like kind of like arpeggiate that C minor chord, you know. And then all I'm doing there is I'm just arpeggiating whatever chord I just played. So I could always grab that as a fill if I want to. And I was just doing some octaves there as well. But think, you got 2 hands. So you could play in the right hand, hold the right hand out, and then let the left hand now add in some motion. And then see how we bring in that motion down there. Okay. So, and then the C minor major 7 chord that was here, we replaced it completely with that F minor 7 flat 5. So again, it could have been that it was a wrong chord, or you know, you'd have to take a listen to some other people playing the song, you know, whatever famous recordings you could find of it, and then see, do other people go to an F minor 7 flat 5, or do they go to some other chord? Could have been something that just Duke Ellington decided to do. I don't know. I haven't done enough research on that to be able to answer for sure. But I do know that I like that sound. So if I like that sound, I can use it. And I was able to get to these different chords based upon the bass motion. Right? So using the bass motion as a guide, I started to fill in other notes. And then here, I played these very simple. Just added in. And you notice, like on the piano, when you do those tenths down there, it gives a lot of beef to the instrument. You get a lot of depth there. So you don't need a lot. If you wanted to, see how I do that double chromatic again. other thing that I want to change on this is I'm taking off that anticipation over here, because you wouldn't play it as an anticipation, to be honest with you. Or at least I wouldn't play it as an anticipation. I would do this. Oops. Okay. All right. So when you come across a song that is, you have chords that are just hanging out there, you got a measure of a chord, 2 measures of a chord, rather than trying to rack your brain of coming up with brand new chords, try using that root and fifth. Maybe you even go to the 5 chord. Again, like Summertime. So there, if I stayed on A minor, it's like kind of boring, isn't it? Just staying on that A minor. So I could start by just changing the bass motion. That right there gets a pretty cool sound. I can then try going from the 1 chord to the 5 chord. Just keep going back. Now let me do that again. Right? So again, in Harlem Nocturne here. Even on that F minor 7 flat 5, I could go to the flatted 5th as well. That's kind of an interesting sound there, rather than doing the E, the D. If you didn't want to do all those other chords, you just wanted to stay on F minor the whole time until you get to the E flat and the D, I could do this. And then go to the E flat, D7, G minor 6. Right? Notice actually here, I don't even have the 6th in there. I should throw the 6th in for you. Now, last thing, let's just talk about that E flat to D7. So D7, well, actually, let's talk the whole harmony here. So this is the 1 chord, okay? I would say that this is flat 6, 7. It's like a borrowed chord from B flat major. Then back to the 1 chord. This is the 4 minor, right? Okay. Now this one is kind of interesting. You can think of this as flat 7. But again, it doesn't quite work, because a lot of times that flat 7 will be a dominant 7th chord there. So again, you could think of this as being borrowed from the major, but the problem is you're not even close to in major. The 5 chord would never be a minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so anytime you come across something like this where it's an anomaly for you, the best thing to do is you could start to think, okay, well, on a minor 7 flat 5 chord, I could usually use a Locrian scale. Okay. And then maybe I could use that Locrian natural 9. So I just use that scale for improvisation. If I don't know how it analyzes into the piece, I can skip over it, right? I remember when I was at Berkeley that we took a class on Bach chorales, and we had to analyze them. And there were many times in which you're trying to find the rule that Bach followed, and there were many times that in class, we'd ask the teacher, well, what happened here? It's where Bach broke the rule, and there was really no analysis of it. It was just something kind of like this weird hybridy little thing, right? So if this were C minor major 7, we would think of it as the 4 chord. So here. And then here, the E flat to the D, this is the sub 5, going to the 5 chord, going to the 1. All right? I look at this, again, as a sub 5 to 4, the D flat 7 going down to the 4. And personally, I look at this whole pattern, F, E, D, D flat. Right? Kind of an interesting pattern in there. I get almost some constant structure going on in there, especially from the E. So anyway, all pretty much G minor, a couple of funky chords in there. Some of these you could leave out. You could leave out the D flat, the C. You could actually play that as C minor major 7 if you want and leave out the E and the D altogether. I like the E flat and the D7 going to the G minor. Okay. All right. So that's it for today's hang. I am going to stay on and answer a couple of questions. Here's the deal about the questions. I would like the questions to be about today's hang, not stuff that's like, you know, outside of what we're talking about here. I want to keep them focused on, you know, on the lesson today. All right. So one more time, let me just show you guys how to get the music so that now you can, by the time you see me, since there's a delay, then you can start queuing up your questions. Okay, so let's see if we got any questions in the queue here. Let me go to my little, let me open up my question thing. Hopefully this isn't going to crash my world. Oh, and I just heard that there's no audio in that little section right here. So to get the music, I'm going to play one more time. Sorry if you've already seen this a couple of times now. But let me play it again, and I will explain what's going on here. All right, so you go to pianowithwillie.com, go to the course library. That's how you can download the sheet music. Select the course, Hang with Willie. Then once you're in there, select whichever hang you're looking for. Now, the sheet music is available to members absolutely free of charge. This is part of your membership. So just go ahead where it says sheet music and go ahead and click sheet music or the jam tracks. If you do not have a membership, you can click on lesson details and you can purchase and download the Hangout, and the Hangout is $7. Okay, all right, so let's see. All right, Virgil. If I'm harmonizing the melody in 6, when do I use major and when do I use minor 6? That's a great question, Virgil. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so let's say that, okay, you know, let's take this part right here. I'm going to harmonize this in 6. Okay, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work either, right? So that works, right? You know, I'm not sure that I necessarily want to play that, okay? But that's a 7th. A lot of times when I'm harmonizing in 6, what I'm thinking about is, well, what is the chord of the moment? So if the chord is C minor, then I need to find notes that are going to work with that C minor chord. So and then when I go to that, so I can do that. So in the left hand, E flat, B flat, C, E flat. Now here's a good example. All right, so now I have, oops, so that's a 6th, 6th, 6th. Well, first of all, major 6th, major 6th, major 6th, right? And then I go major 6th, and then here I'm thinking, go to major 6th as well, right? You like keep it major 6th on this note right here, the E flat. But no, I wouldn't do that because G flat is outside of that C minor 6 chord. So instead I go, now I got to my minor 6th. Okay, so now I'm at a minor 6th. And then that would sound like kind of something like that. Do it again. do it slower for you. Okay. So that's how you would harmonize in sixths. What you want to be looking for is look at how the sixth, if it's a major or a minor, is going to affect the sound of the chord. So if it doesn't work with the chord, then you probably want to move to whatever the opposite is. So if you were doing a major sixth like this, the G flat, you know, it doesn't work on that C minor sixth chord, then move to the minor sixth. Right? All right. Let's see. All right, I don't see any other questions right now. Okay, I want to ask a question about the borrowed chord, G minor to E flat 7. You mentioned that if the song is in a minor key, you can always use the flat 6 dominant. How about just a minor chord? For example, when I see D minor in any song, can I borrow B flat 7? Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, who was this? Yin Yi was asking, you know, rather than playing G minor at all, could I just go right to my E flat 7? Remember this about changing chords. Well, actually, there's a couple of things that I want to make sure you know about changing chords. The first thing is don't just change chords just because you can. Right? Don't just change chords because, oh, it'd be cool to like change all these chords. Change chords because it's going to add something to the song. You never want to take away from a song. You always want to add to a song. And when I say add to it, I don't mean that we're necessarily adding chords. Adding to a song could be by taking away chords. All right? When I say add to a song, I mean add your own special musicality to it. You could play any chord you want to. You know, so I could do G flat major 7, then go up to G minor major 7. Do I like the sound of it? No. What if I went to G major? I don't really like the sound of that. Well, that's kind of interesting. C minor 7 flat 5. So I could just find, well, what note would that, like, what chord would this note work with? Okay, and it could literally be any chord. Like, you know, it could be the third of a D7 chord. It could be the minor third of an E flat minor, so on and so forth. Okay. But anyway, back to your question, can I use that E flat 7? It really depends on the melody. So you always have to make sure that you're not taking away from the song, that you're adding something to the song. Now, how do you know if you're taking away or adding? It's really like seasoning. Okay. You get to learn this kind of stuff over time. And what's most important is that you use your ears. You know, you listen to other players, you record yourself, you listen back to it, you have some critical analysis. So, can I use that E flat 7? Take a listen. Doesn't sound so good, does it? Okay, especially since that's a sharp 9. There's a lot of tension right out of the gate. Okay, with that. So now, what if I did this? Yeah, I don't really like that. It sounds a little hokey to me. I'm trying to go down to the F. I like the G minor going to the E flat 7. Could I do it here? C minor, A flat. No, it doesn't really work there because how I'm thinking about this is I got to be like replacing the root. So it's not like I can replace any minor chord by going down a major third. All right. Always try. That's how you learn. You try new things and you figure out like, hey, I like the sound of that, or no, I don't like the sound of it. Here's the thing. If you like the sound of something, then don't let anybody tell you, me, another teacher, anybody tell you that it's wrong. Because if you like the sound of it, like you're like committed to like ah, man, I just like, that's my thing. I love that. That's how I express myself. All right, then who am I to say that it's wrong? If that's what you like, then that's what you play. But there are obviously certain conventions in place that maybe that's a little too tense. But that's a decision that you'll need to make for yourself. All right, so always use your ears. All right, that's the main thing. Lloyd, if I'm in C major, it's a capital M, so I'm assuming C major. Can I use the 5th of A minor as an alternative? I'm assuming that you're C major. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Ooh, that's interesting. So if you're in C major, okay, can you go to the fifth of A minor, right? So remember now, the A minor is the relative minor of C major, okay? So now if you're in A minor, now the fifth would be E, okay? And so basically what Lloyd is asking is, like, can I go to the third? You can, just like you can do anything, right? But the thing is, it's not a strong resolution. Why? Because the 1 to 5 relationship is that strong resolution. So in C, so I would go to the G. A minor, now I'm at the 1 to the 5, 1, 5, back to C major. So you see, when I was going to A minor, I hit E first. So this, I'm going to go to G. The reason I go to that 5 first is that's the strong motion getting back to that 1 chord. So, you know, you can always try this kind of stuff out. So you see how I'm adding in that third in there, okay? So I could try it, but I urge you not to overcomplicate. If you're thinking like, oh, all right, I'm in C major, now let me go to the relative minor, but then play the 5 of that, it might at that point start to be overcomplicating stuff. And I would pick easier stuff before you overcomplicate. All right, last question. Which minor scale do you use when harmonizing the 6th in C minor 6? Okay. In the C minor 6th, I was thinking this scale. Okay, I'm thinking like C Dorian. Why? Again, if you haven't checked out my scale, I forget the name of the song, Essential Scale Tricks or something like that. I show you how to create scales based upon the chord. So if I'm thinking in the key of G minor, right? So G minor is the same thing as B flat major, right? And here it's a really kind of like harmonic minor for this song because you get that major 7th in there. Okay, so now how would this relate to a C? Okay, well, let me take these notes down here, move them up here. So there's my C minor. Okay, notice I'm playing it that natural 6, right? It's not a flat 6. Okay? Now, if I were playing a C minor and if I'm in the key of C minor, then I'd be thinking flat 6 because C minor is the relative minor of E flat major. Okay, so on the 1 chord in a, so if the minor chord is a 1 chord, then I would be thinking the flat 6. If it's not the 1 chord, then I'm thinking the natural 6th. Okay, all right. So thank you all very much for joining me today. Like I said, we'll you know, we're just, you know, like really honing this each and every week. I do this every week on Thursdays. So we're just really trying to get better and better at this. We love your comments. I do read all of those survey, stuff that you put in. Feel free to write in. Let us know your thoughts, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. We love hearing your thoughts because I do this for you. You know, I want to see you guys succeed at the piano. So anyway, thank you so much. I will see you guys next Thursday. I will be flying solo next Thursday. Carrie won't be on the chat, so I'll do my best to try and, you know, chat with you guys after the main lesson is over. Okay, but I won't be chatting during the lesson. All right. Anyway, I will see you. I will see you next Thursday's hang.